The Christmas Letter That Found Love. Hook and Introduction. The Ghost of Christmas Past. The blizzard was a curtain of white, swallowing the quaint twinkling lights of the mountain lodge. Inside, however, a lone fireplace cast a golden, cozy glow. Ilara, bundled in a chunky crimson sweater that matched the holiday cheer, traced the fragile crease of a weathered envelope. It had appeared on her doorstep that morning, nestled amongst the usual Christmas cards, addressed in elegant, unfamiliar script. She unfolded the letter, its paper smelling faintly of pine and old memories. The first line was a devastating hook, a confession from a lifetime ago that instantly stole the present's breath. I left you that winter morning, not because I didn't love you, but because I believed my broken compass would only steer your perfect life onto a dangerous path. Ilara knew that handwriting. She knew that devastating kindness. It belonged to Liam, the man who had vanished from her life exactly 7 Christmases ago, leaving only a note she'd burned, believing their story was over. Now, on the cusp of Christmas Eve, this phantom letter had arrived, reopening a wound she thought was long healed. As her eyes scanned the final paragraph, a simple plea for a second chance at the one place that held all their memories, the crunch of tires on the freshly fallen snow outside ripped her attention from the page. A car door slammed. A man stood silhouetted in the porch light, a suitcase at his feet, his shoulders dusted with snow. It was Liam, and the letter, sent weeks ago from a distant city, had somehow arrived at the exact moment he did. Fate, it seemed, had decided this Christmas wasn't about wishing, it was about answering. If you're loving this heartwarming Christmas tale, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Chapter 1, 7 Winters and a Confession. Ilara's heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic, trapped bird. She held the letter against her chest, the words burning through the paper. Liam, the man in the doorway, looked older, his jaw a little sharper, his gaze holding a quiet desperation that mirrored the sentiment in his rediscovered correspondence. Ilara, he managed, his voice a low rumble against the howl of the wind. The letter, she whispered, stepping onto the porch, the cold air immediately biting at her bare hands. It just arrived. He looked utterly bewildered. I mailed it a month ago. I wanted you to have time to decide if you'd even let me explain. Explain what, Liam? That you thought running away 7 years ago was an act of love. This letter says you were broken. I was here, I was whole, and I was yours. Why didn't you let me be your shelter? Tears welled, not of sadness, but of years of repressed frustration. He took a careful step closer, but stopped before touching her. I saw darkness in my future, Ilara. Not the kind that hurts you, but the kind that consumes me. I wanted you to have a life bathed in sun, not shadows. I know it was cowardly, but I truly thought leaving was the only way to save the best part of me, which was you, from the worst part of me. He reached out a gloved hand but stopped before touching her. I'm here now because I realized saving you meant destroying myself. I'm not whole without you, and I had to risk everything this Christmas to tell you that the man who wrote that letter, the fearful boy, is gone. The man standing here wants his home back if you'll have him. Chapter 2, The Fireplace and the Forgotten Star. The tension broke the moment Ilara silently stepped aside, letting the snow-dusted man and his heavy suitcase into the warmth of the lodge. The air became thick with unspoken history. As Liam shed his coat, his eyes darted to the familiar objects. The worn leather armchair, the crooked reindeer figurine, and the scent of cinnamon and fir. The lodge hasn't changed, he observed softly, looking at the towering Christmas tree. Some things are meant to stay, Ilara replied, finally meeting his gaze, the letter still clutched in her hand. But others, they get lost. She led him to the kitchen where a half-finished tray of sugar cookies waited. As they worked side by side, decorating the festive shapes, the forced formality began to crumble. He remembered exactly how she liked her hot cocoa, a dash of vanilla, and she remembered how he always burned the edges of the gingerbread men. Later, sitting before the roaring fire, Liam finally spoke about his years away, the self-discovery, the career shift, the eventual realization that no success could compensate for the absence of her laugh. Ilara spoke of her life, a successful career, but a hollow feeling every holiday. Remember the Christmas tree topper? Ilara asked, changing the subject, a nostalgic smile playing on her lips. The silver star we got in that little German market? Liam's face lit up. It had one prong bent at an angle. I never knew if you liked it or hated it. I loved it, she said. But I packed it away. The first Christmas after you left, I couldn't bear to put it up. It felt like a promise that was broken. Liam's eyes softened. This year, he said, reaching across the space between them to gently take her hand, let's find that star. Because Ilara, that was never a promise. That was a truth. Chapter 3, Answering the Truth. Christmas Eve arrived, a day of nervous proximity. They spent the morning searching the attic for the forgotten star. Under layers of dust and old blankets, they found a small, sturdy box marked Liam's things, which Ilara had clearly never been able to discard. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, was the slightly bent silver star. As Alara held it, its familiar coolness in her palm, she finally understood the depth of the love his letter had confessed. It wasn't about a fleeting romance, it was the foundation of their lives. That evening, dressed for their quiet Christmas Eve dinner, they stood by the tree. The last spot, the very apex, was bare. "I need you to help me," Alara said, offering the star to him. "I can't reach." Liam smiled, a genuine, joyful smile that melted the 7 years of ice between them. He carefully lifted her, wrapping his arms around her waist as she reached up, the perfect placement requiring a closeness that was both terrifying and utterly familiar. When she placed the star, its silver catching the light, she looked down, their eyes locked, inches apart. "That letter," Ilara whispered, the words trembling, "it was the bravest thing you've ever done." "No," Liam countered, his grip tightening just enough to assure her he wasn't leaving. "The bravest thing I've done is stand here and wait for you to answer it." She didn't need any more time. She knew instantly that the space he'd left had been filled with his growth, and the space in her heart had only been waiting for his return. She lifted her hand and gently brushed the snow-flecked hair from his forehead. "The answer," she murmured, "is yes." Chapter 4: The Perfect Christmas Morning. The first kiss wasn't frantic or desperate. It was a slow, deliberate return to home, a promise of all the silent Christmases they would share. Christmas morning dawned bright and serene, the world outside a sparkling, untouched blanket of snow. They woke intertwined, the fire from last night still radiating warmth. Downstairs, the scent of coffee and pine was heavy in the air. Liam had not brought gifts, knowing the only present that mattered was his presence. But Alara had kept a tradition alive. She handed him a small flat box wrapped in paper bearing miniature reindeer. He opened it to find a simple, leather-bound journal. The first page contained a single, neatly written entry, dated that morning. Entry 1, Christmas Day. The year the letter found its way home. "I forgive you for leaving, because you came back a better man. I forgive myself for waiting, because I knew you were worth it. Our story starts now." Liam looked up, his eyes shining with unshed tears, the ghost of Christmas past finally put to rest. He didn't need to say a word. He simply pulled her close, kissing the top of her head as they stood before the tree, the bent silver star gleaming overhead. Outside, the snow had stopped. The sky was a brilliant blue, and the only sound was the gentle crackle of the fire, the perfect soundtrack to their quiet, long-awaited Christmas. The letter had not just found love, it had guided it back, proving that the best gifts are always worth the wait. Thank you for joining us on this romantic Christmas journey. If you enjoyed the Christmas letter that found love, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment telling us your favorite part, and share it with someone who loves a good holiday romance. We'll see you in the next one.